Welcome to the Town Board meeting, Thursday, October 19. Please rise and salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a moment of silence for Arlene Giuliano, former councilwoman, supervisor, and our beloved historian, who made sure the town of Amenia knew the history of the town of Amenia. Emergency exits are to my right, behind the town attorney, and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle. Here. And Supervisor Perotti.
Here.
And it be noted that Councilman Delango is absent.
Public comment?
Hi, Jimmy Pearson, candidate for county legislature for our district. I, several months ago, came before this board to introduce myself and to speak a little bit about what I feel is lacking now, which is some active representation from the county, and I spoke specifically about the need to come to these meetings and discuss actions at the county level that affect the town. I've been to as many of these meetings as I can in the interim and had some great conversations with individual board members and with Supervisor Perotti about some of these issues. And along in that vein, I wanted to come here tonight on the occasion of the beginning of the discussion about the public budget for next year, and just one more time talk a bit about emergency medical services, which I know the town received a grant to investigate a regional approach coming up, and I very much look forward to the outcome of that work and also hopefully being part of some of those discussions. I know that it's the single largest, I believe it's the single largest budget item for the town to pay for private ambulance service, and I'm hoping that the regional approach will help alleviate that. So I know I've been out talking with folks a lot about it. I've heard a lot of feedback from people in the community that it's incredibly important, and I hope that as we talk about the budget moving forward and as the discussion about the regional approach moves forward, we'll be able to find a solution that will help the town with some fiscally sustainable and responsible solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Supervisors report. The Old Amenia landfill. Our environmental attorney, Kimberly Ray, is working on the last steps required to file the conservation easement with the county as soon as there is final approval from the DEC. Trail to the Train project, I am bringing the PS&E resubmission to the DOT tomorrow for the Trail to the Train. The DEC permit is complete, was advertised in the Millerton News, and the notarized affidavit of publication has been sent to Scott Ballard at DEC as required. The MTA easement language will be discussed at the MTA October 27th meeting. The highway work, DEC, ACOE, joint app, SWIP permits have been completed. For generator, Tom Ebid of Fellinger, who received the bid for the generator engineering, was here on Wednesday 18 to do a walkthrough of the facility and to take measurements. Town clerk.
Good evening. I'd just like to let the board know that circulated the minutes from September and October thus far, and I'll give you guys some more time to look at. Maybe we can return unless you're ready.
I'm ready.
You're ready?
Yeah, I just got through reading them.
Okay, so September 14th, September 21st, and October 5th are the three sets of minutes to be approved. The other minutes for the public to be aware that will be online tomorrow will be the highway material bid opening, and on 10/10 there was no quorum, so those three sets don't require approval.
Make a
So-
motion to accept the minutes from September 14th as presented.
I'll second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
September 21st?
I'll move that we approve September 21st, 2017 minutes.
Second?
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
And October 5th?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented for October 5th with the correction discussed prior on the vote.
I'll second.
We have to show him as an abstention. I have him
Yes.
the
so-
very last page.
Right.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Also this evening, I present to the board, I know I've had brief discussions with board members, the resignation of Wendy Farnham as the bank reconciliation clerk, and I present Judy Westfall to replace her, and that'll be at a rate of $15.45, which is Judy's current hourly rate as she's currently hired with the town. So I need that to be...
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Wendy Farnham as Town Clerk, Bank Reconciliation Clerk.
Second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
I'll move that we hire Judy Westfall at the hourly rate of $15.45 for the position of bank reconciliation for the town clerk's office.
Second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Also, in reviewing the building report that was read last month, the totals didn't add up, so I submit to the board, I have to make that correction publicly, that the building department collected $19,688.40 with the renewals of $450, and that total is $20,730.40. That number had been the previous month, so we want to just reflect that, and it's been corrected. We had advertised for the custodian applications. We have received 4 applications. So
So we need to set a time to
set a
do
date
interviews?
To interview these guys.
Any day next week would work for me except for Thursday, the 26th.
How about Friday?
Friday would work for me, the 27th.
Yep.
What time?
Any time after 5 would work for me. 5:30.
Starting at 5:30?
That work for
Would
you,
that work?
Jim?
I think so.
Okay.
30?
I will start with calling all of the candidates to see if they are available. Also, we've received 1 snow bid. Thought I'd help her.
Works for me.
So the snow bid specifications were available online with the snow bid from date of November 1st through December 31st, and again, January 1, 2018, all the way through December 31st of 2018, so it's a longer period.
Okay, the bid is $29,800. I did, as Dawn pointed out, I did change the time period so that the snow period for 2017 would end on 12/31/2017, and then the whole year from 1/1/2018 to 12/31/2018. So we don't have to worry if we get a freak storm in May or we get a storm in October.
Who's the bidder?
The bidder is Kindred,
He was the same company that we had last year, so I
the
have
same
his
company we had
insurance
last year.
already on file.
Well, that's significantly higher, right, than we've ever paid.
Well, it's for a longer period of time. Usually,
Is that,
yeah, usually when we bid, we bid for just the end of this year and the beginning of next year. So this bid would cover all of next year. So it's a longer period of time.
that's much higher than we've ever budgeted in a single fiscal year. And I know I get it that we are
Well, it's for
paying out
two-
of this year as well.
Yeah, it's for 2 years.
Okay, so it's for 2 full years. No.
Yeah, well, it would be November 1st, so it would be 2 months of this year and then all of next year. So it would be, the beginning, usually.
14 months?
Right.
That's a lot.
Supervisor, did you say 29,800? That's what it sounded like.
Yes, it's $29,800 is the single bid that we have
It's for a longer
for
period of
14
time.
months instead of 12.
What was it last year?
Please don't shout out from the audience.
Oh, excuse me.
Last year's bid went from November 1st actually, last year's bid went from January
To May.
to May, so you really can't compare it. It was only for 5 months.
And the year before was 35,000.
So this is actually for a year and a half. Because instead of doing the bid from November to May, I did the bid from November 1st to December 31st, and then January right through to December 31st, instead of having it broken out with part of the bid one year and part of the bid the next year.
Just assuming that we will then have to request additional bids in late 2018
For all
to
of 19.
start in early,
No.
sorry,
Well, we'll have to request a bid for 2019,
for 2019. I'm just,
for the whole year.
right, but that's mid-season for plowing. Well, I'm fine with doing it this way, but I think moving forward, we should shift. I know it's nice to line it up in the fiscal year, but having one contractor start the season and then have a second contractor finish it seems less efficient if they have to learn the route or. I'm fine with this. I think I do understand it makes sense to try to line it up with the fiscal year, but. Might be better to do these May to May.
May to May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can we re-advertise this? Is this a possibility?
Yes, you can.
I would suggest re-advertising because I don't see that I can justify $30,000 for, a couple of months of snow. I mean, really, it's...
It's more
6
than a
months.
couple of months.
So November, December, January through May, I mean, you have 7 months that possibly have snow. 5 months where you really would have 5 or 4 to 5. I mean, it's about 7 months.
Well, part of the reason this
30,000.
might be higher is it does include the tail end of 2018, November, December of 2018, where you're
How
likely
much
to get
snow are you going to get November, December?
We never
a year
know.
from now. But if we change the bid, if we change the term of the contract, just to end in May 2018, and then we rebid from that point on, May to May, this price might come down from the same bidder.
I think it's worth a try.
So you want to rebid with a different range?
Yeah, well, why don't we say this contract will be, when did this one start, November?
Mm-hmm.
So November to May, and then in April next year, we'll
Try
bid
again.
out just a full year contract, May to May.
So you want to
November,
go November to May?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have to bid again in November?
We'll have to bid again
do it?
in April or,
The pet friendly is like huge.
Can you
Yes, could you?
go to the,
Ian Holback, I just thought I'd make a suggestion, but 1987, I think it was October the 7th, you had a heck of a snowstorm, so you might want to, I'd include October. It's rare, but you might want to throw that in there. I go to October to under April, and in 69, we had that 4 foot of snow around April 4th. And I'm just,
yeah.
not that we
Well,
want
that's
any
why
of
we
those,
go to
but-
May.
We had May.
Yeah, I'd go from the beginning of October to end of April. That should be your physical year, for snow plowing contracts. Just my thought.
So November to May?
for this, right?
For
Because
this
we're
year.
halfway through October. But yeah, I think that makes sense, October. For 2018, we'll bid October through,
Actually, we could do both.
we could do both?
We could do November to May,
Mm-hmm.
November 2017 to May 2018, and then do November 2018
Or October 2018.
or October, whatever, to May 2019.
Yeah.
And then do the 2 years, because we'll probably,
With the option of accepting one or both at that time, because you
no.
never know if you specify that there's an option to
I-
take one or both, then you could, if it was high, like this one is, you might have more competitors out there for the next cycle.
For 2 years, we've had one bidder, so I don't see people rushing in here to do this bid. If we're going to break it up like that, November 2017 to May 2018, what I've been told by people who plow snow, that it's, that you can get a better bid if you range it over a longer period of time. So any way you look at it, we need to make a motion to reject, I make a motion that we reject the bid and rebid with different ranges.
Second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
The only comment that I've gotten in the office is the sand and pet-friendly ice mount. That is a specialty item that they have to order. So when Supervisor was discussing the 2 years, that was a comment that came through the office, because it's an item that they have to get different than what we're using at home. So, I'm throwing out what I can afford, crossing the same sidewalk that he's putting something different on. So that's been,
From the bidder, you got that comment?
yeah. Okay, so reviewed by the town clerk's office and presenting to the town board are your vouchers for the month of October. General Fund A, $82,757.93. Highway Fund, $9,759.23. Amenia Lighting, $1,477.64. Wasaik Lighting, $523.77. Amenia Water, $23,122.27, for a total amount in the $117,640.84. And those I present.
Were you able to find some advice for the check that was to be issued?
So if you know who her next in kin is, then you should reach out to them. But if you don't, then unless someone makes a claim to the town for that, then, I mean, you have no other obligation to seek out. But technically, they're...
Next of kin would be the,
Yeah.
but she has 5 children or 6.
Whoever's going to administer the estate.
The executor?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I'll make a motion that we accept the payment of the vouchers as presented.
Second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi.
Yes.
Just as a friendly reminder, I know we discussed it earlier in the year, and Judy is now taking this task on. I did send her an email. Education for Planning and Zoning Board, I'm seeking those certificates. So if any of the board members see our planning board members, if you can please kindly remind them that they're coming up and the year's quickly approaching. And with that, and as we're preparing our calendars for meetings, we do have expired terms coming up. John Stephanopoulos for Planning Board, Terry Metcalf on ZBA. Board of Assessment has already expired. That was Vern Fish, and he expired on September 30th. Ethics Committee, Gene Swagner. And this year, there's still the open seat on rec, and Scott Russo's term will be coming up. So I'm actually seeking approval to start advertising those now, because we seem to take a couple rounds to get our volunteers to step forward. So that's...
I'll make a motion that we authorize advertisement of the positions that are open, and add to that the Enhancement Committee. And actually, we've lost Arlene Giuliano on the CAC.
And historian.
And
So you
town
could add historian.
She's going to need a lot of work to fill her positions.
Second.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi.
Yes.
Okay. I also share and report with the board that the supervisor has submitted the preliminary budget. It was circulated to board members via email, and as well as hard copies are here, and there are copies available through the town clerk's office. As we are right around the corner from the end of October, I'd like to remind the public that there's a Halloween curfew.
Okay, make a motion to set the Town of Amenia curfew for Halloween for 8 p.m. for those under 16 unaccompanied by an adult.
Second?
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Parodi?
Yes.
God bless you. Almost done, I promise. Nancy's asked that I announce 2 good events happening down at the Wasaik Fire Company. They are hosting a blood drive on Saturday, October 28th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And this November 7th, which is our election day, the Wasaik Fire Company Auxiliary will be having a meatloaf dinner with all of the delicious sides. So join them down in Wasaik. And that concludes the town clerk's report tonight.
Are there any other committee reports?
CAC met last night, and we did not have a moment of silence for Arlene, because knowing Arlene, she wanted us to get right to work. There was not a moment of silence. We went and plugged right into our agenda. So she was on the agenda, but we moved on to item number 2 quickly. And we know that she'd appreciate that. We wanted to thank her for her last report, which she gave 10 days before she died. She worked right to the end, all the way to the end. So we appreciate all she did for the CAC and for the town of Amenia. We talked briefly about Kent Hollow. We looked at some of the things that we could help the ZBA look at, as far as they have reports and receipts and all kinds of things that help them establish the fact whether or not they were grandfathered use or not, and whether or not we could help with our aerial photos and information that also help paint a picture of what has happened over the last 30 years. So we're working on that. The Trail to the Train, we talked a little bit about. I printed out the final design, and I don't know if I sent you the link, but I got it from the engineer so that we could look at the boardwalk, because I know we had a few questions about whether or not the wood was preserved, was going to last, or whether they should look.
Actually, I asked about him today, and it's
Super.
actually put in there that it will either be wood or a synthetic textured material.
Excellent.
That's already in the plans.
Okay. So the thought that we had was that we'd love to see that it was something that didn't have to be replaced in 10 years' time, because I'm sure it's going to get a beating out there. A watershed roundtable is October 26th at the Farm and Home Center, and there's another roundtable on November 2nd for CACs in the region to get together and share what they're doing in their towns. Our chair, Dave Reagan, met with HVA expert on rain gardens, Mike Stravinsky, and Maria Grace, to look at the Phragmites that are moving from, across into this fabulous rain garden that we built a year or 2 ago, put in nice plantings, and it looks beautiful, but the Phragmites, being Phragmites, move laterally under and into, and we just have been battling Phragmites. So we're going to get an expert, an even greater expert, I guess, to come in and help us understand what our options are for dealing with it. We've been just hitting it with, what do you call those, electric trimmers, just cutting it down and putting hay and straw, but it pops right back up. So it's really a terrific invasive. So we'll keep you posted on that. Thank you.
Any other committee reports?
Marilyn Noe for the Enhancement Committee. On Saturday, November 11th, on Saturday, November 4th at 9 a.m., the committee of the Enhancement is going to be meeting at Fountain Square, and we're basically going to be tidying up, clearing up the annual plants, and making it tidy for the the Veterans Day ceremony on Saturday, November 11th. Herb Eschbach and Eric Eschbach are going to finalize their plans for the flower plants, for the square, and for the concrete barrels. And I'll get the deadline for the Sharon greenhouse, which we're going to use again this year, is November 1st. So I'll get that, to the greenhouse per their request. And let's see, Vicki has someone in mind regarding a possible replacement for myself. This is my last meeting. As of the 1st, I'm going to be living in Dover Plains, the 1st of November. And she can fill you in on that.
I'm awaiting an application. I reminded her, and
Good,
hopefully
good.
we'll have
Okay. And I'd just like to thank the board for their support, during 2017 while I've been chair, et cetera, kind of stuff. The other thing is, there's a number of people in both Amenia and the tri-state area that are very concerned about the continuity of care of the Island Cemetery in Amenia. That's the one that's across from the Hudson River Community Center. So we're going to have a beginning organizational meeting that hopefully the board will attend. And it's going to be on Wednesday, November 15th at 5:30, okay? And location to be determined. And we're hopeful that the board members, there's 3 or 4 board members will be present and give us some input as to, what is happening. As you, I'm sure, well aware, when a person buys a plot, it's usually for X amount for perpetual care. And many of us feel that the board needs not only a legal obligation, but also a moral obligation to come forth and to let people know, what's happening. As it is now, the Islands Cemetery was mowed and weed whacked weekly. Well, now it's down to once every 3 weeks. And, people are wondering what's going to happen in the winter and just quite honestly, what's going to happen long term. When we get the place of location, I'll put it on Facebook, I'll put it on Wassaic and community page, and I hope to get it in both the Lakeville Journal and also the Millerton News.
Why don't you just have it here?
Well, I was told that I have to do, as a private citizen, $25 plus the $1 million life insurance policy. So that is cost prohibitive, and it's not going to happen.
Can
Okay.
we waive that?
Well,
If you-
that's up to you, okay?
I think it makes sense to have it here. We have the space, it's already available.
I
And
think
I'd
so,
be
too.
happy to open up the town board room for that particular day,
Okay.
the 15th on a Wednesday. That happens to be a CAC meeting, but we don't go until 7 p.m.
Okay, great.
So
And
that would work.
I was thinking about the second Wednesday of the month, but that's right after Election
Elections.
Day, and I figured everybody would be celebrating,
Yeah.
et cetera,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff, so. And any of you who have, in the community, any of you who have people who are buried, have graves, or that's where you're planning to, we'd really, appreciate your support and come and find out. I'm past president of the Bristol Family Association of the United States and of Australia. Okay, and I have descendants of mine that are buried there. If I think this cemetery is going to be viable, then I'll put some money in for a plot. But if it's not, what's the point? So, but we have to start somewhere. Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion that we waive the requirement of the fee and the insurance requirements for a meeting to be held on November 15th at 5:30 p.m. at the town hall to discuss Island Cemetery.
I'd just like to remind the board that if they do have a majority of the board members present, that you need to publish it as a public meeting.
Okay, I would just call it an open meeting. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily a town board meeting, but they can, if they want to sit down and listen, they can listen, right?
Right.
No, we just wouldn't participate.
Right.
Second.
Second?
Okay, Damian. Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi.
Yes.
Marilyn, thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. But I still will be doing things, but it's as an out-of-town volunteer, unless the board indicates that's not appropriate.
Highly unlikely. I would not.
She's stuck here. She doesn't know it.
The kitchen. I can read it.
Yeah, you can read it.
Notes from the Kitchen Committee, September 26, 2017. Wayne, you are chairman, called the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Present were Wayne Uvard, Frankie O'Connell, Charlene Pollinger, Alan Gamble, and Supervisor Victoria Perotti. Absent was Linda Gregory. Minutes were read and approved. Grant update, Mike Haggerty is looking into future grants available for the kitchen. Update on the kitchen, it's with heavy hearts, fond memories, and much appreciation to our friend John Culligan for all he did to help bring this project to fruition. We will truly miss him. The Board of Health is working with Supervisor Perotti to get approval. A discussion regarding the engineer's plans was had, and we are determined to move forward. The budget was submitted by Wayne, and then the committee adjourned. Next meeting is scheduled for October 24th at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Resolution number
47.
Resolution approving preliminary budget of Town of Amenia and directing a public hearing thereon. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia duly convened a regular session, meeting having been called to order by Supervisor Victoria Perotti, does hereby resolve as follows: pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of Section 106 of the Town Law of the State of New York and other applicable provisions of law, the annexed detailed statement of estimated expenditures and revenues be and the same hereby is approved and adopted as the preliminary budget for the Town of Amenia for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018. Such preliminary budget shall be filed forth in the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Amenia, where it shall be available for public inspection. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia shall meet at Town Hall on November 2nd, 2017 at 7 p.m. and then and there hold a public hearing upon which such preliminary budget. The Town Clerk of the Town of Amenia shall give notice of such public hearing by publishing notice thereof in the form annexed in the official paper of the town, the Millerton News, at least 5 days prior to November 2nd, 2017, shall cause a copy of said notice to be posted in Town Hall not later than 5 days prior to November 2nd, 2017. Notice of public hearing on the preliminary budget for the Town of Amenia for the year 2018. Notice is hereby given the preliminary budget of the Town of Amenia for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018 has been completed and filed in the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Amenia, where it shall be available for inspection by any interested person during office hours. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia shall hold a public hearing on said preliminary budget on November 2nd, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall located at 4988 Route 22, Amenia, New York. At such hearing, any person may be heard in favor of or against said budget as compiled, or for or against any item herein. The following are the proposed salaries of certain town officers. Supervisor, $23,776. Council persons, 4, $5,873. Town clerk, $29,851. Superintendent of highways, $59,366. Sole assessor, $29,984. Town justices, 2, $17,755. Residents have the right to provide written or oral comments and ask questions concerning said budget. I make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Kalinga's absent.
Okay, Ridgecrest, local law and special permit.
So for this, the board just needs to start by going through Part 2 of the environmental assessment form that is attached to the back of the resolution adopting the negative declaration. And the board will just be evaluating the impacts of the local law itself. If there are any proposals for actual development within the district, then the applicant will have to come apply for those separately, and you would do a separate secret review. So it's unlikely that there will be many impacts given that this is a local law, but you do have to go through each individual question. So we can do that together.
Okay.
So starting on the first page of Part 2, The first question is, will the proposed action, again being the local law, involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? Yes or no? That would be a no. Number 2, the proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. Examples, cliffs, dunes, fossils, or caves. And that would be no. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
Number 3, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. Examples, streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes. There are no surface waters, so that would be no. Number 4, impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. That would again be no. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding. Again, yes or no?
No.
No. Impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. Yes or no? That would be no. Impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in loss of flora or fauna. Again, this is regarding the local law, so that would be no. Impact on agricultural sources. The proposed action may impact our agricultural sources. Yes or no? No.
No.
Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. Yes or no?
No.
No. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action, again the local law, may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. No.
No.
Number 11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. Yes or no?
No.
No. Impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. Yes or no?
No.
Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. Yes or no?
No.
The proposed action, number 14, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use or form of energy. Yes or no?
No.
No. Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, and outdoor lighting. Yes or no?
No.
Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. Yes or no? No. Number 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. Yes or no?
No.
It is consistent.
It is consistent.
So that would
Maybe
be,
yes.
No.
It is
it's
no.
a double negative, yeah, so it's no.
No. It's not consistent. That's incorrect.
Consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. Yes or no?
No.
No.
Okay, so based on the review of all the Part 2 evaluation, there has been a negative declaration prepared. It was sent to the board prior to this meeting. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review it, and the board may proceed in adopting the negative declaration. And there's a lot of material here, so I would just recommend, if you'd like to just go through to the resolution, and you can jump to the be it resolved clauses. Because again, this is just really the history of the project or the site.
So we're adopting the negative declaration first? Is that
Correct.
correct? So
Yes.
that's 48. Now, what am I now?
Correct.
Adopting a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act for proposed local law number 2 of 2017. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the town board hereby designates itself as a lead agency under seeker for the proposed local law. 2, the town board issues the seeker negative declaration for the proposed local law, concluding that it will not create any significant adverse environmental impacts, and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. 3, the town board adopts and incorporates herein by reference the written negative declaration attached hereto as Exhibit A. And 4, the town board directs that the attached negative declaration be filed, distributed, and published as required by the seeker regulations, Section 6, NYCRR 617.12. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. I make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle,
Yes.
Councilman Zelenko is absent. Councilman Morris,
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Yes.
And then 49 to actually adopt the local law.
And just one correction for the title of this resolution, it should be Resolution Adopting Proposed Local Law Number 3 of 2017.
It should be 3.
It's going to be adopting local law number 3. We reference it as proposed local law number 2, but when it actually gets entered into the books, it will be local law number 3.
So this is a resolution adopting proposed local law number 3
Correct.
of 2017.
And again, you can just, this is a lot of background, so, I mean, feel free to read it, but I think the board, has reviewed this and can just read the now therefore clauses in a local law is attached. And that was distributed prior to the last meeting.
A local law to amend local law number 3, number 2 of 2011, as amended by local law number 1 of 2016, and confirm the addition to the zoning map of the town of Amenia of 65 acres of land located on Sin Patch Road to the soil mining overlay SMO zoning district subject to certain conditions. Well, I can go to where? Therefore be it resolved. Therefore be it resolved that the town board adopts local law number 2, that's 3, right?
Correct.
Of 2017, entitled a local law to amend local law number 2 of 2011 as amended by local law number 1, 2016, and confirm the addition to the zoning map of the town of Amenia of 65 acres of land located on Sin Patch Road to the soil mining overlay SMO zoning overlay district subject to certain conditions. Be it further resolved that a copy of local law number 3 of 2017 duly certified by the town of Amenia town clerk shall be filed with the New York State Secretary of State on the appropriate form within 20 days of the adoption of this resolution. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. And I make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle,
Yes.
Councilman Morris,
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez,
Yes.
and Zelenko is absent.
49.
Okay, 49 for the special permit,
You're on 50.
or 50. Resolution approving an amended special permit, site plan, and conservation easement for operation of Ridgecrest Farm soil and gravel mine within the SMO zoning district.
And same thing, again, everything's very repetitive in these resolutions, just provides procedural and the history of the site, and therefore you can jump to the be it resolved clauses on page 7.
Now therefore be it resolved, the town board approves the amended special permit application and grants an amended soil mining special permit for the expanded Ridgecrest mine as requested by Ridgecrest in accordance with town code, subject to the following conditions. 1, the 2013 special permit is superseded and replaced in its entirety with this amended soil mining special permit. 2, Ridgecrest, its agents and successors shall comply with all conditions contained in the New York State DEC mining permit related to the expanded Ridgecrest mine. 3, no mining activities or related work shall occur on the property until the amended site plan has been executed by the town supervisor. 4, prior to execution of the amended site plan by the town supervisor, Ridgecrest shall submit to the town a fully executed conservation easement in the form attached hereto as Exhibit C, subject to the town attorney's insertion of dates and other information and any modifications necessary to effectuate the purposes of the easement. Ridgecrest shall also submit all their documents necessary to record the easement in the Dutchess County Clerk's office. 5, prior to execution of the amended site plans by the town supervisor, Ridgecrest shall pay the sum of $1,000 to the town clerk to be held in escrow to cover the cost of inspection and monitoring of Ridgecrest compliance with the requirements of Section 121-17D of the Town Code, an amount that is to be replenished as requested by the town board. 6, the amended special permit is issued pursuant to Section 121-17 of the Town Code and only authorizes mining on the expanded Ridgecrest mine. It does not authorize any other uses on the property. Any future uses proposed on the property shall be subject to the terms and conditions of the recorded conservation easement. The Town Code,
Subjects.
it's to the recorded conservation easement, the town code, and all federal, state, and local laws. Further permits and approvals may be required for any future uses on the property. Be it further resolved that the town board approves the conservation easement in the form attached hereto as Exhibit C, subject to the town attorney's insertion of dates and other information and any modifications necessary to effectuate the purposes of the easement, following which the town supervisor is authorized to execute any documents necessary to effectuate the recording of the easement. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby approves the amended site plan prepared by Zarecki and Associates for Ridgecrest Farm, last revised February 26, 2016. Be it further resolved that prior to the execution of the amended site plan, Ridgecrest shall pay all outstanding fees and expenses of the town's consultants incurred in connection with the amended site plan application and related documents and matters. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to stamp and sign the amended site plan upon Ridgecrest compliance with all applicable conditions of the resolution. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be filed in the office of the Amenia Town Clerk within 5 days of the date of this resolution and shall be mailed to Ridgecrest within the same 5 days. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Supervisor Prody,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle,
Yes.
Councilman Morris,
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez,
Yes.
I was absent.
And I think we're all set on that. That was the last part of it, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can leave.
On. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You wanna do this one?
Resolution number 51.
51.
Megan. Approving an amendment to agreement with WSP Cells for professional engineering services related to the Wassaic Trail to the Train project. Whereas on or about October 20th, 2011, the town of Amenia and WSP Cells, WSP, entered into an architectural engineering consultant agreement by which WSP Cells agreed to provide architectural engineering services to the town related to the Wassaic Trail to the Train project. And whereas the Wassaic Trail to the Train project involves the extension of the Harlem Valley Rail Trail into the hamlet of Wassaic, whereas the project has been actively ongoing over the past 6 years, including environmental review, funding, and permitting, all of which is complete at this time. Whereas additional construction inspection and construction support services are necessary to complete the project, but were not included in the original project scope under the agreement. Whereas, based on the foregoing, WSB requested an amendment to the agreement to include such construction inspection, construction support services. Whereas, following negotiations with WSP and based on its history of providing valuable engineering services to the town board hereby desires to amend the agreement with WSP to include these additional professional services. Whereas this is a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and therefore not subject to review under seeker. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby approves the proposal from WSP Cells to provide construction, inspection, and construction support for the duration of construction, which is anticipated to be in 3 months. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute the amendment to agreement for additional professional services, which are for $135,000.
Can we have some discussion on this?
We have to make a motion and second first.
Okay.
Second? Okay.
All right. What I'm somewhat confused about is the very large amount for field overhead. There's been no backup for that I have seen anywhere in any of the documents. It's more than the labor. And I'm familiar with construction contracts in general. I've tried construction cases. I've never seen an overhead where it was this great a percentage of the total contract price. And I just don't understand it. What is it all about? What do we get for the $61,150.13? Usually overhead is about a 10% of the contract price. This is substantially more than anything else.
So following the last meeting, I called Dan to explain that the board had concerns over the cost and, just to see if there was anything they could do to get it down lower. And as you know, the last meeting, the proposal was at $165,000. He's reduced it by $30,000, and it seems to be that that's the most that they can come down to. There's an email here from him dated October 10th that says that due to the location and the timing and the availability of their personnel, they do not have any flexibility in the rates to further reduce the hours. But he did say that the reduction was from them cutting the number of hours, and I believe that,
They did reduce the number of hours by cutting personnel.
right.
But I still don't understand what the $61,000 represents.
Office overhead, right?
It's field overhead. The office overhead is $3,070.36.
I mean, I think that that's a question you could ask Dan. I certainly can't answer it
Didn't
on
they have
behalf
an
of
email
them,
that
so-
said their overhead was 20% or something? They just have a formulaic charge for
I'm sorry.
overhead? I think the email that came with the $165,000, or maybe even when they had the $235,000, they had in their initial estimate, in that email, they said what the overhead was, something like 20%. It was just a number. So they just tack on overhead, right? I'd have to look back at that, but I remember seeing it very perfunctorily said that, we need this part-time person, we need a, full-time field guy, we need a part-time helper, and 20% overhead is X amount of dollars on a construction project of nearly $1 million, right? I mean, I'm just going from memory, but I thought they had a very, very brief description in their first estimate to the town.
Well, I want to see what the $61,000 is all about. I'm not going to vote for it until I know what it's about and it makes some sense to me.
Well, I can say that I tried reaching out to Doreen Holstoppel and at the DOT and said, we're not breaking a contract, that a construction inspection was not checked off on that original contract, so why would we need to renegotiate this whole thing? But in her original email to Victoria, she said price is not the issue. You should not be choosing an engineer based on price. So I never heard back from her either by email or by voicemail. So I don't know. I think that her recommendation is that we not choose it based on price, for what that's worth.
Well, I never heard of field overhead being almost 50% of the whole amendment.
No, I think it would be over the project cost, right?
There's no explanation for that. I want to see something that makes some sense.
Right. Well, I would like to know from Ms. Holzapfel, for instance, is there a typical cost for that kind of thing? She looks at a lot of these contracts for construction inspection. We don't know what an acceptable price is. It's not our money to spend, so we are concerned about price. And that if she could tell us what a typical cost would be, are we in the right ballpark or not?
Well,
That might be helpful.
Yeah, but when you have a construction contract, this is an amendment to it. The original construction contract had something built in for overhead and profit. I'm sure of that. This was something that was not considered, but almost 40% or more is field overhead, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, what are they going to have in the field? They're going to have probably a trailer of some kind, but what else are they going to have? What justifies a $61,000 expense for overhead in the field? I don't get it.
They're going to have people there. Not going to have an empty
The people,
trailer.
they're taken care of under the direct technical salaries. This is overhead.
So, trail to train.
So do you want to call them and ask them?
Sure.
Then we can table it to the next meeting.
Okay.
But we're getting to the point where we need to do something.
So motions are made and seconded.
Okay, we need to vote then.
Supervisor Perotti?
Oh, yes.
Councilman Morris?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
No.
Councilman DeLango is absent. Councilman Gutierrez?
No.
Motion fails.
So since that didn't pass, do we go to 52?
52.
Okay. Approving a renewal of an agreement with Northern Dutchess Paramedics for ambulance services, whereas on or before December 1st, 2016, the Town of Amenia and Northern Dutchess Paramedics Incorporated entered into an agreement by which ambulance agreed to provide ambulance services for persons situated within the town's borders pursuant to the powers provided under General Municipal Law 122-B, the agreement. Whereas the term of the agreement was 1 year and subject to annual renewal of the same terms and conditions as provided for in the agreement except with regard to the fee. Whereas the agreement sets forth that the 2018 fee shall be be a total fee of $700,000 for the ambulance to provide ambulance services to the town's resident and persons situated within the town's borders. Whereas in order to defray the cost of these ambulance services and to provide the residents with the services it desires, it is necessary for a town to impose a tax on town residents for ambulance services, which tax may be offset by user fees billed by ambulance to patients utilizing the services. Whereas the amount of the total fee for 2018 to be offset by town taxes is $322,000, with the remaining $378,000 to be paid from billing revenue only. Whereas such emergency services are vital and necessary to the health and welfare of the inhabitants of the town. Whereas this is a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act and therefore not subject to review under seeker. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby approves the 2018 fees from ambulance services. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute the renewal of the agreement reflecting the new fees set forth above for a one-year term, January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018, subject to approval by town attorney. Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
A second.
Councilman Morris?
I'm going to abstain.
Can we have a discussion, or is it too late?
No.
So the question I have is that they are supposed to, the ambulance service, current one, is supposed to provide us with information about the kind of money they've been able to
And they have.
collect. So what has been the average, are they coming in short of what they had projected for
They said they were a little
2017?
bit, they said they were, the last meeting, they said they were a little bit under.
So
But
like
they didn't seem
$7,000
concerned about it. They didn't give me an amount. But they said they were a little bit under what was expected, but they weren't concerned about it.
So they're concerned enough to put $7,000 extra into the
This
bid?
was the original
Yeah,
contract.
these numbers.
That amount was in there.
Oh. To do this year at $322,000?
Yes.
Okay, so never mind. I forgot that we had agreed to a 2-year contract. Is that correct?
It was a 1+1, so it was 1 year plus an extension if we.
Oh,
granted
right,
it.
we could renew that.
Right.
Yeah, this is the renewal of the beginning of the one we have.
And just to clarify for the audience, then the total contract is 700,000, but the amount to be paid from town taxes is limited to 322,000. The remaining 378,000 are to be paid from billing revenue only. So essentially, that's what they have to collect, or that part is at risk for them.
Right. Because the original contract had renewal fees for 2018 and 2019.
Built into
Oh,
it.
Great.
So it was, for 2018 was 322,000. That would be going, be part of your taxes, and 2019 was 335.
Okay, so I misspoke then. It was a 1-year contract with 2 1-year options for extension.
For renewal.
And so I've just amended the agreement to reflect that. So I changed 3A, the compensation, to plug in the existing numbers for 2018. 3D remains, I just took out the 2018 since that's reflected above, and that it still shows the 2019. The agreement also provides that the town must provide a notice of its intention to, or its option to exercise the renewal. So I've prepared that. It's just a simple notice that I can send to them, subject to the board voting on this evening.
Send to who?
NDP.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's part of the contract, says that if we want to renew, we have to let them know in writing.
Okay. So we could bid this back out again. I mean, not that we really want to, but it says the agreement was for 1 year, subject to annual renewal of the same terms and conditions as provided for the agreement, except with regard to the fee. And the fee was set, preset.
You know, let's say there's a regional,
Consortium, yeah.
right, some progress is made on that effort. We're not obligated to
This is
do
only,
this.
Right.
this is only renewing it for next year.
2018. And then we're not obligated past that.
No.
If we do want to bid it out again, we could do that if there's another option.
And the board actually can terminate without cause within 90 days notice. So if, again, that was to go forward, just upon 90 days notice, you could cancel this.
But I don't think we want to do that.
Right.
And I think we want to get the regional cooperation as soon as possible, I would suggest.
Well, that's, the county is spearheading
Running that.
that.
Okay.
They'll be having meetings next year for it.
What was the fee last year?
310.
10? 3 and 10.
I sent you a copy of the contract. With 310,000.
12,000 more this year.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Sorry. Councilwoman Doyle
Yes.
and Supervisor Perotti.
Yes. Okay, we did the Halloween curfew, we did the custodian refuse. An item I have under other matters is transfer of funds, Tab 53.
Yes.
Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary and unanticipated to amend the budget. Whereas budget amendment for the general fund decreasing expense line 13554.01.119, assessor CE contracts by $1,473.77, and decreasing expense line 13554.01.048, assessor CE conferences by $1,000, and increasing expense line 13554.01.044, assessor CE certiorieries in the amount of $2,473.77 for increased certiorari attorney fees. Whereas budget amendment for the general fund decreasing expense line 19004.01.057 special item CE grant administrator by $4,000, and increasing expense line 80204.01 planning CE in the amount of $4,000 for increased attorney fees. Whereas budget amendment for the general fund decreasing expense line 16202.01 buildings equipment by $5,000, and decreasing expense line 14404.01 engineer CE by $1,790.60, and increasing expense line 16804.01 data processing CE in the amount of $6,790.60 for WatchGuard 3-year security product renewal, Wi-Fi improvements. This amount will also cover cover bills until the end of the year. Whereas budget amendment for the general fund decreasing expense line 14404.01 engineer CE by $3,000, increasing 13104.01.040 director of finance CE account support by $3,000 for adding a water district cash audit. Whereas budget amendment for the general fund decreasing expense line 16204.01.125 building CE maintenance support by $250, and 16204.01.059 building CE heat by $1,750 and increasing 16204.0177 building CE telephone by $2,000 for additional telephone repair costs, and that will also cover telephone until the end of the year. Whereas budget amendment for the highway fund, decreasing expense line 51424.03, snow removal CE by $10,000 and increasing expense line 51104.03, general repair CE by $10,000. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorizes a transfer of necessary budget lines to process this transaction. And I make that motion.
Second.
Are there any
Discussion.
questions?
Yes,
What?
Sarah. The general repairs increased 10,000 is for?
That's Stan's line.
Oh, that stands, okay. Sorry.
That's Stan line. He
Yeah, no, that's
he
fine.
needed to make his line whole.
I thought it was general repairs for,
No,
Town.
it said highway fund.
just making sure.
Are there any other questions?
From me.
Okay.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Okay, is there any other public comment? I guess not. No one is here. Town board comments?
I would like to thank Arlene. She actually was a large part of why I got involved in town service. And I always looked forward to her committee reports, and send the best to her family. And hopefully she serves as a model for others to come and serve and volunteer some of their time for the town.
Is there any other town board comment?
I would add on to the Enhancement Committee meeting notes that we discussed the holdup of having Leo Blackman and Marcia Kaufman do a design dealing with some of the issues we've had at Fountain Square. The problem that they've had is that we just simply cannot get our hands on the original engineering drawings that were done when they created the improvements there at Fountain Square. So we need, I think, to hire an engineer or somebody to do what I guess I would call the as-built plans. We can do a design schematic, but really, ultimately, you need to have everything marked out on a plan, and that's beyond the scope of the design work that they had in mind. So I wondered if there was support from the rest of the board to ask Leo to, because he's an architect, he works with engineers, perhaps he can recommend what the next step would be, since we can't actually, we foiled DOT to try and find the map that they, the plans that they use, and nothing Leo could find in the 40-page document was helped him use as a base map. So I was looking for the board's support to ask him if he doesn't have an engineer or somebody on, working for him who could provide a base plan so that we can work from that going forward.
So he would give us a price for that?
Yeah, and a recommended engineer, I guess, that he's used to working with, I guess. Also, it just seems that it was 3 big resolutions on Ridgecrest. It would be nice to have kind of a history of, I know there was a lot of verbiage there, and it's very complicated to try and recap why it was needed to rescind local law number 2 and create this new local law 3. But all in all, I can just say that there was a complication with the process of including the 65 acres. I don't know if you want to try and summarize this, since you've been writing all these resolutions, but if you could summarize it for the public, because I don't think they know why we had to redo a law that we did in 2011. And it's rather convoluted, but I think the public deserves to know what we just did.
Sure. So the long and short of it is that there was a 25-foot buffer that was previously required by the DEC because there was 2 adjacent parcels that were owned by separate owners. When Ian Holbeck purchased the property, the existing property, there was no longer that need for that buffer. So the law, removes that. It also allows limited residential use and transient-orient development in the SMO because currently the only existing uses that are allowed after mining are recreation, ag, and forestry. However, the applicant would still need to go apply for a special use permit if he is to go actually build residential or transient-oriented development. And it also brings, the local law also brings the old resolution and the conservation easement into compliance with the law because it wasn't previously done correctly. So it's not approving any additional uses at the time, it's just allowing for them under the new conservation easement that was approved by the applicant. And this only affects the Ridgecrest property, which is 65 acres. And it did require a new conservation easement because there was previously 12 conservation easements and it was just kind of lost.
Unwieldy to
Right.
actually execute, given the nature of mining and the nature of easements and the long-term use of the property. But I would say ultimately I'm very pleased that we have ironed out those difficulties. It's a fairly innovative law, I would say, in that most other towns don't have flexible zoning like this. And it's the first opportunity that I know of where you have allowed 65 acres to be mined with the caveat that there are certain certain criteria that the town said we will allow mining in areas that obviously are appropriate, areas that have access to a major road and don't go through a historic area, and follow these certain criteria, and the town approved it. And what's innovative is that it provides that it will have open space conservation ultimately as a benefit to the community. So the applicant gets the benefit of the mining, and the town in perpetuity will have agricultural open space to look at. And there's also in this latest version the opportunity for him to potentially get approval for transit-oriented development and a few houses that are consistent with the agricultural part. So I'm very pleased. This is an important chapter, I think, in this, and I'm very pleased that this is going forward.
Thank you.
That's my only comment.
Is there any other town board comment? Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?